everyone. So I caught up with one of my good old friends the other day. See him very rarely. And at the end of the conversation, he pulls out his paramilitary too and says, "Oh, do you reckon you could sharpen this for me and post it back?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, because I'm the one who put the original edge on." So about, I'd say a year ago or so, I gave him one of my 17-degree mirror polished edges. And I think it might have been the wrong choice because he seems to largely use his knives to cut rocks in half. So what I'm going to do today is I'm looking at this edge and thinking, might put something a bit broader on it, but first it's going to take just a little bit of winding back. Rebuild this edge from scratch, and I thought it would be an interesting test of this tool, the capabilities of this, the Worksharp Field Sharpener, Guided Field Sharpener. I would be using roughly the 20-degree guide, perhaps a little bit lower, and yeah, I'll be first using this harsh diamond side and then the fine diamond side to put a nicely shaped edge back on this guy, removing a lot of damage in the meantime. And then we'll be honing it as best we can on the ceramic and leather. So a bit of a proof of concept, I suppose, for this guy. These are often just seen as being for touching up blades rather than fully sharpening them. So I'm going to see if I can do a full repair and sharpen type job using this Worksharp. So let's get into it. So what I'll first be doing is I'll be using this rougher side here, and I'm just going to be shaving off that damage. So I reckon I'll probably do 50 per side just to even get to a point where I may be catching up with those deep chips. So it's looking to me like it's started to recede some of the lighter chips, but there's still obviously this big fat chip that you can see there with my jacket in the background. So that's going to take a while to catch up to. On with it. Can't give up, you've already made the thumbnail for the video. That's a promise to yourself. Oh, needs a bit of a break. You see how much stuff is coming off of it though. I'm getting a lot of steel off this knife. Let's see if that shows up. Not so much. There's a fair burr on most of it. The chip is still there, but reducing. Yeah. See that most of the other damage is gone, and we're just looking at this part here. Still just a little bit wavy there, but we're definitely getting there. There's Ada. Hello. Kissy puppy. You're the nice kissy puppy. You are. Oh, you're the nice puppy. You get a kiss for that. Yes, you do. You're a good dog, Rose. We're definitely looking better. There's a slight chip out still. It's actually way more visible from one side, so I think it's got some, like, one of the faces of the apex is a bit, you know what it looks like? It looks like he's cut sandpaper or something like that almost. One of the faces here is kind of shaved up a bit as well, if you get what I'm saying. At any rate, we've probably done about 500 passes on each side of the diamond stone here, so this is a longer job, but that was a pretty significant chip. It was actually all up to it was the full height of the original edge apex, so we're basically redoing a whole new edge apex with this guy here. So it's a reasonably large job for such a small tool. Alrighty, so I've got an apex back, and I cannot feel when I run along. I can feel a burr. Look at all that S110V there on my hands. When I run my finger along, I can't feel any chip. I can just feel a nice, folded over burred edge. So not sharp at all. Just as you'd expect. It's like it's a dull knife, but with an apex again. So that's where we can start properly. You saw at the end there, I was getting pretty aggressive with this. I just wanted to sort of get through that chip, really. I lost patience, and I sort of thought, I'll see how that does. And it actually seems to have done all right. So the goal now is to get it slicing your held sheet of paper. Alrighty, so we are finally switching over to the more gentle side. I've got a apex with a burr that you can feel when you push from one side. You can feel it catch, and when the other side you can't. So it's obviously rolled over. So now I'm just going to keep working on this edge using this finer diamond file here, and make it nice and properly sharp, I hope. Alright, so this part is hopefully straightening the burr out or removing it entirely. Depends on really how the edge has gone. It's looking pretty good to me, so I'm hoping when I go and grab a sheet of paper from inside, I can give you a nice smooth slice. But if I can't, I can certainly just work for a little while longer. This was an extensive job, like an extensive repair rather than even just a sharpening. So it wouldn't usually take this long. Usually you would only use the coarse plate for a short while, and then you'd just mainly be using the fine plate and then the leather strop. The ceramic cone's optional. I thought I would have a pretty raggedy, meaty burr on there, so I did chuck it across the ceramic a few times just to make sure that was cool. Notice I've got a nice tip still on the Spyderco. The paramilitary is a knife that's all about that fine tip, so that had a big chip on it before, so I think the tip's back about as good as an average guy like me can do it. And just remembering, I'm not a professional sharpener. I will not sharpen like random people's knives for them. I don't do it as a paid service or anything like that. I truly just want to show that with a pretty rudimentary tool like this, and just a bit of, as weird as it sounds, just that bit of courage to start doing it is all you really need, because it's a bit like ice skating. First few times, the first few edges you do it, you'll fall over a lot. The first few times you ice skate, you fall over a whole bunch. But then it gets to that point where even if you only do it sporadically, once you've done it for another, after the first 5 minutes or so, you're back to how you were. It's a bit like riding a bike, I guess, is another adage that people often use. So for the moment of truth. Set it down and I'll go inside and get a sheet of paper. Alrighty, moment of truth. Much better, obviously 1,000 million times better. It's definitely a steeper edge, so this would be at least a 20 degree per side edge. Given that what he's been clearly using the knife for, it's probably appropriate for his uses because it was chipped to shit. And that's, you know, and that could be the fault of my original edge that I put on him. 17 degrees, it's good for me, but it's not good for everyone else. So what I might even do is hit it on this fine side a few more times and then re-strop and try and get it a little bit nicer than it was just now. But the ingredients are there for a good edge now. So some flaws of the system. Now, one you're probably picking up is that you see I'm not getting the full edge. So that's definitely an issue. Especially on Spyderco knives that don't have a sharpening tool or anything like that. Using this system, you're really going to be touching up, and I'm guessing it's going to be the part of your blade that gets damaged the most, but that is definitely a drawback. Another is obviously the plate size. Creates, you know, the need for a lot more passes than usual. You can of course take these plates off and just use them off of the system, and you could then get your full, you could definitely get your full edge if you could hold them freehand, whatever you know feel like doing. But I'm sort of trying to use the system as intended, so I may well touch this up on another tool before I actually send it to my old mate. But that being said, I'm pretty happy with this as a one-stop shop for most pretty average knife guy problems that you'll come across. It's just a matter of being, you know, confident enough to actually just put blade to stone and start sharpening, because once you get to that point of no return where, you know, you've actually started to redo the edge and the edge isn't all of a sudden not nice anymore, it's a big deal. I remember, like, when I first started sharpening on anything, that was a big deal to get a big hill to get across. Anyway, I've got a lot of good stuff to say about this Worksharp here. I think it's probably one of the better ones. Some blades will do better on it than others, especially like freestanding blades that don't have this sort of choily stuff here on them. Blades that kind of just come out and have a bit of a void there will do great on this. You'll be able to get the whole blade even when the thing's just all fully attached still, so it's pretty cool. For about $60-70 Australian, I think about $40 US over there. Pretty good value tool, I think. I'm going to skip the ceramic, just going to go straight to the strop. I've just put some of my Tormek compound on this strop here, so that's like a 3000 micron finish. You know, if you used it for ages, you'd end up with that, but as it is at the moment, it's just for straightening any burrs, tidying up things. Stropping, of course, if you don't put horrible damage on your edges, stropping, of course, will be about 90% of knife maintenance in my experience. A good strop to staying on top of things, a bit of good compound on it is really all most knife guys need. The first thing you should invest in is a good strop. If you're looking at getting towards maintaining a high-end pocket knife, especially, because if those high-end steels are just getting dulled gradually rather than getting, you know, damaged, these strops are going to bring most of them back. Anyway, not sounding too much like a sharpening tutorial. It's just, I'm just trying to show you how me, a pretty normal guy, uses this. I reckon I've gone and got myself a pretty decent result on this Paramilitary 2. Yeah, it's even better than it was before. Very nice. Definitely push cutting paper. Couple of little hiccups on it maybe. Still possibly a work in progress, but really, geez, he's carrying it tipped down as well. What a freak. Anyway, that's, I hope, a pretty decent demonstration of the full capabilities of this fairly humble tool. Thanks for watching, my friends. Yeah, really wholeheartedly recommend this Worksharp Guided Field Sharpener. I sort of hope I've been able to illustrate that it's, you know, of pretty high value even with your high-end steels and high-end knives.